Welcome back to the show again. We were just discussing earlier on about Donald Trump's alleged derogatory comment about Africa and not Haiti. Earlier on, Maxine, you were just commenting, like I asked you earlier on, I was just on about whether what Mr. Trump has said or what Mr. Trump is saying, is it not the same thing what other white people say it in the pub or in other places? And you were just commenting on that.
Yeah, I think that most white people don't accept those ideas. He didn't get the majority vote. Actually, most black people didn't bother voting because they just thought, what's the point? We'd just get treated so badly anyway. And the voter turnout was the lowest. So I don't think most white people agree with him at all. But people can be pulled into those ideas, can't they? They can be pulled towards those ideas. The politics of despair, I call it, really, when people feel that they're forgotten, ignored, there's no jobs, there's no nothing, it's very easy to start to blame somebody else who's probably doing worse off than you are, actually. So I think it's very easy. It's like the politics that come out of the gutter. But, I think that it can be broken. Politics is about leading, really, as far as I'm concerned, and people need to take up an argument. I was very pleased when Heather Heyer was killed. At the funeral, they said you've mobilised more people than ever before against you. And last weekend, I think it was last weekend, there was enormous demonstrations against Donald Trump in America. When he tried to put the ban on the countries allowing people in, people went to the airports to welcome people into the country. He is creating a movement against him. So actually, I think it's bad on one hand. There's more racist attacks, but on the other hand, there's a movement being built against him. But
his supporters still seems to support him, though.
Well, let's make them feel small. Let's make them feel irrelevant. That's what I think.
That's right. But isn't it the point that therefore that even though it seems as though we are a few months or a few years before the Second World War, or even the First World War, where the world is divided. I mean, you have a United Nations now where America, which is a beacon, has carried the largest portion of the budget of the United Nations. Now you have that same country going into a United Nations Security Council meeting and standing alone, getting no votes. So that is endemic. That shows that the world is or has become very divided. The world is unstable. Alliances aren't as clear as they used to be. This is what the world was a few months before the First World War. Alliances breaking up, friends not trusting each other, and so on. And I think that's where we are. But I hear, from what you're saying, Maxine, it sounds to me as though you're also saying maybe perhaps because of the media or because people are more aware, that is not getting enough traction with enough people, that the majority of the people in the world still see us as see each other as humans, and don't treat each other that way. Does that, Brother George, does that give us any hope that the amount of division that is being sowed by leaders like Donald Trump, if you agree that he's sowing any division and is working on it for political reasons, does that give us any hope that perhaps such an agenda is not going to succeed?
Oh. It doesn't give me hope. I go back again to a fellow called Adolf Hitler. It started like that. I was a young man. I was in secondary school, I think, something like that. But I could hear in the evenings, you know our people, the elders, they get together in the evening and they discuss all these things. And I could hear the discussions that were going on. And people like my father, bless his soul, for example, was warning our people not to sit back and think, well, he's crazy, he's insane. Because this crazy and insane character is whipping up hatred against certain people, particularly a particular section of society. It's not something to take lightly, because this was how it started.
But the resistance, Brother George, the America has seen the largest public demonstrations in history on the 21st of January 2017. And this year again, you saw the largest public demonstrations in America against the sitting president. does that give us hope that perhaps if your father was here today, then he would be saying those warnings I'm giving out there, there are people who are receiving them and are taking them forward. Let's take Maxine's point again here, which is that even though Donald Trump is the president of America, which means he won the election, the fact of the matter is that the majority of Americans, if one person was equal to one vote, did not vote for him by 3.5 million margin. Does that give us some hope, therefore, that there is some attention being paid to these issues by the general population of the world?
Yes, I think so.
Except for I do think you're right, what you said, because we can never again let this happen. And you look in Europe, and you can see the growth of the far right in Europe as well. It's definitely, and I mean, I know for a fact that although the EDL in this country have become very small, they are trying to grow on the football terraces again. The Football Lads Alliance is about trying to grow a fascist organisation again. The Ku Klux Klan are bigger than they've ever been for a long, long while in America. Although I think it can be stopped, I think there is a real danger. I think you talked about the world dividing up again. It feels like the 1930s again, doesn't it?
Someone I know said to me the other evening in a telephone conversation that she thought that they should bring back the Black Panthers. Go and get the Black Panthers, fetch them, because they will let this lot sit up. Because the Black Panthers, I
mean, the idea is that you have people who are going to challenge the far right.
Yes.
So talking of that though, Brother George, talking of the Black Panthers, so what do you think we as Africans needs to do to encounter this? Because if you look at the African Union, they demanded an apology, especially countries like Botswana. They summoned the US Embassy. You know, what was the outcome? Nobody knows. But the African Union demanded an apology from America. But it seems like that fell on deaf ears. So what do we as Africans, what do we need to do in order for America or the West to respect Africa?
Well, it would quote unquote fall on deaf ears, because one of the biggest problems, not just my opinion, if you look at history, you see in our beautiful motherland has been the question of leadership. Leadership. We've not had the right leadership in that continent. And that's what's been bugging our people and been responsible for a lot of the sufferings of our people. And now, yes, we had the African Union and all the rest of it, but how united are these leaders? What if you jump around, you're living in a family and you go around boxing one another? What kind of family is that? And this is, for me, that's how we need to establish a leadership in that continent, and the what you call it, United Africa, whatever it is, whoever they are, do a lot of talking. The United Nations, so-called, also do a lot of talking. But what are the results of all this? How are people? My focus always is and will be the conditions under which our people live, exist. What's our people happy? Are they busy fighting one another?
But you saying that though, so do you think then, I'm not trying to defend Trump by any chance, you know, with what he's been accused of, but do you think saying that means it's like the truth hurts, but he's saying it the way it is? Because if we Africans are not united, how is someone else out from Africa is going to come and unite us or is going to respect us?
Well, this does not detract from the fact that Trump is obnoxious. He's obnoxious, he's ignorant, and he's a mischief maker. And people must recognize that fact. Don't dismiss him. People must pay attention to him. The leaders, particularly in our motherland, should pay attention to this fellow. Because I say, it's not just my opinion, it's people I know have said this. the biggest problem we have and have had in that beautiful motherland of ours is a lack of leadership. It's a lack of leadership. And what the masses, or we, the people, should be doing is pointing this out. And those who are at home should make our people know that it's very important that they should unite. Look, I mean, you take what's happened. Take the situation in Zimbabwe more recently. It's so easy for these mischief makers to step in and light their fires and leave us in a mess. It's so easy.
I mean, that is a serious contrast there. I mean, look, and I think that question of leadership is one that will always leave us in a tough position in terms of responding to issues that are happening internally in Africa and outside Africa. Because, look, the ability of Africa to unite does not depend on Africa. The ability of Africa
But why is that?
Because the world has a history. Because we just didn't wake up here today. We have been here for a long time. And in that time, we've created structures, social structures that control how we act and how what choices we should make. Look at the new Zimbabwe president's interview yesterday in Davos, where he's been asked whether he would like to meet Donald Trump or what his response is to what Donald Trump says. Most pathetic response you'd ever get. The gentleman avoids the question of being called that, being insulted like that, and says, in fact, what he would like to do is to get a chance to meet with Donald Trump, and does not respond to the fact that Donald Trump has insulted every African, every Haitian. In fact, everybody else who is of African heritage. And what would Robert Mugabe have done in that situation? Would you see how he would have strongly responded and in some way united some Africans in terms of giving a sense that it is not appropriate and you cannot justify behavior that wants to divide people, as it were. Although, you're right, Robert Mugabe himself wasn't a great gentleman. He wasn't a great uniter. He divided people along race. So, but he would be an equal in terms of putting force and responding to Donald Trump. But I think that we must address this question of whether or not if the fact that Africans may themselves have serious problems, and the fact that on a Sunday afternoon, some right-wingers may be sitting and saying, kick out all these Africans, that those facts, even though they may be true, that there are people on the fringes of society in both places, leaders in Africa being on the fringe in terms of building forward, and some right-wingers in the West being on the fringe in terms of racism, that in fact those things shouldn't justify Donald Trump, should they?
But can I just say something else about Africa, really? I mean, the legacy of imperialism, colonialism inside of Africa has been a stain on the whole of the continent, and actually imperialism's back at it again. The second plunder of Africa is taking place at the moment. So it's all right for Donald Trump attacking all Africans, right? But he's quite happy to loot their countries, and that's what he's doing at the moment. So I just think, using big business corporations inside many of those countries are being looted, so that many African people live in poverty. And I just think it's, he's attacking them, but he's quite happy to take the money. That's what he's doing.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's very important. If you come back to Britain and look at Zimbabwe as another example, is that Zimbabwe has had what is expected to be a genocide between 1992 and 1997. And in that time, you had excellent, good relations between Britain, for example. The Margaret Thatcher government had fantastic relationships with Robert Mugabe. Robert Mugabe being knighted in 1997 under a conservative government in this country. And meanwhile, 20,000 people have been killed for political reasons. Nobody cares. And you have the same situation now. You have a military taking over in that country. And what is the conservative government doing? Causing up to this guy and not asking any questions about, did you kill anybody during your coup? Is everybody alive? And what do you intend to do? Can we Can we make sure that there is democracy? How are you going to have free and fair elections? Those things don't get asked at moments like these. And then 20 years down the line, you get the same guys coming back and saying, oh, you whole countries. When they assist these dictators, make them strong, and then when the population is weakened by their support, they come back and say, oh yeah, all Africans are.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, okay. Enough of that for now. Let's move on again. Now, Maxine, if we look at the last time, Donald Trump wanted, well, he was invited by the same conservative government again.
Yes.
To come here, be it for a state visit or whatever it is. And I understand Stand Up to Racism are planning to have a massive protest. You know, had it been his coming or you are planning it.
Yeah.
Is it on the 25th of February, if I'm not mistaken?
26th of February.
26th of February.
Which is a Monday night. He was due to come to the embassy in London. So all across the country, people put events up that they would protest if Trump was allowed into this country. And I think it's fantastic, really. He's backed down. He's not coming. Some spurious argument about who built the embassy and I don't like where the embassy is. But we all know, I mean, the Sheffield event on Facebook had 4,014 people probably come in and 612 definitely. The last time when he imposed the ban on the 5 countries from coming into America, at 24 hours notice, we had the biggest demonstration I've seen in Sheffield. 3,500, you could see it from the top of the town hall. It was enormous, just happened. Now, it's interesting, isn't it? So many people turned out.
Talking of that demonstration, let's have a look at that demonstration because I did cover that demonstration.
Right here at the town hall, where more than 1,000 people have gathered here protesting against Donald Trump's recent decision to ban Muslims from 7 majority Muslim countries not to enter the United States of America. Not only that, but protesters are here also protesting against what they refer as to the racist attacks on Muslims and also Donald Trump's decision to ban Muslims like Syrian refugees from entering the United States. You've got all party members here. You've got the Green Party, the Lib Dem, and the Labour. The only party that I cannot see here right now is the Conservatives.
The ban bars citizens from Iraq, Syria, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. And across the country, thousands of people have been protesting against Mr. Trump's controversial immigration ban. Here in Sheffield, the protest has been organized by Clara Sunderland. Here is what she told me why she organized the event.
Well, I saw it was going to happen in the rest of the country, and I don't normally engage in these things, but I feel like what's happening the last week is just simply a time to react and to stand up. So then I went ahead.
So were you expecting a lot of people to turn up the way it has?
Oh no, not at all. I thought it was me and a few friends really, and then we've got so many people involved, so many people have been helping out, and as you can see, there's just absolutely amazing turnout.
What kind of message are you trying to send out there to people?
I think the main message tonight, although of course I only speak for myself, is that when it comes to discriminative and racist policies from the very highest politicians, and then it's simply time to stand up for everyone. And the fact that the Prime Minister of this country wasn't prepared to do that quickly and readily and strongly when our own citizens were being targeted because of their faith, then we just all need to unite and stand up.
Well, I think you really get a sense of the strength of feeling. I mean, I've never seen a protest with this many people here to make clear their feelings about what's happening with Donald Trump. I think even for people who have got concerns about these kind of issues, think that what Donald Trump is doing makes no sense on any level and is wrong, just to cast whole groups of people as if they are somehow potential terrorists is beyond the pale. And I think that's why people have come out so strongly for us today to say it's wrong and it has to stop.
Well, I guess this tells the whole story about Sheffield being a city of sanctuary, because we've seen more than 1,000 people here today protesting for the same reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got a very proud history of being a city of sanctuary, and it's right that Sheffield does its part to help people who are suffering genuine persecution around the world. We've done that with the Burmese who came recently. We're doing it right now with Syrian refugees, doing our part. as part of a civilised country that seeks to help people who've been persecuted, and for some reason Donald Trump seems to have turned his back on those people.
So what's your reaction on the Prime Minister's decision still to maintain that Mr. Trump's state visit will still go ahead?
Well, I think that the important factor that Theresa May, I understand that America is an important ally, but if we've got a special relationship, it should mean that we're allowed to say things that might be unpalatable to that government. And I think what Theresa May seems to be missing is that her stance on this issue sends a message out to millions of citizens across the UK, including the millions of Muslims who live in this country, and to not even comment or pass a negative comment on something that the Trump administration is doing, when we have so many people in this country who are affected by the kind of policies and the tone that Donald Trump's setting, has to be wrong. And she's made a big mistake, and I hope she realises that.
Well, the video you've just seen, that was the demonstration that Stand Up to Racism and other organizers organized last year when Mr. Trump decided to ban people from majority Muslim countries entering the United States. Now, Maxine, do you think that demonstration that you had the last time had an impact, or is one of the reasons why Mr. Trump probably decided to say, oh, look, this time I need to change my mind?
I think he knows there's a massive amount of opposition. I mean, you think about all the issues that people get angry about, but for that many people to turn out at such short notice tells you how much Donald Trump is hated in this country. If he comes, we will definitely be out on the streets, I'll tell you. We'll be out in our thousands. And we've left our event page up for the 26th still, because you never know what Donald Trump's going to do, what he's going to come out with between now and then. He could do anything, couldn't he, really? He's so it's disgraceful what he does. So, yeah, we will definitely, if he comes, we will be protesting. But we will continue to build against him, because he really symbolises everything that we think's wrong at the moment. So we want unity, really.
But it is, I think, one of those rare moments in the world of politics where you see the actions of citizens and people who don't have political power as individuals coming together, and that gathering and those actions, demonstrations per se. I've attended many demonstrations in my life, large demonstrations, million-man marches. We had that with the Iraq War, but that didn't stop the war. But these ones have stopped this guy. So I think it's a rare moment of very rare history where public demonstrations and public action by people from all walks of life actually deliver immediate results. And I think that is something that we ought to celebrate.
Well, Brother George, a final word from you, because it looks like we don't have much time. Just summarize. We have about 30 seconds.
Well, I don't know what else to say. It's people, just a bit of statistics that was thrown at me the other night. I was discussing something with a friend of mine, and he said, have you asked yourself why U.S. America is claiming to feel threatened? They got something like 1,286 bases around this planet. Who's threatening you? So I'll leave you with that question.
Well,
we'll answer that question someday. Trying to find out why they have so many bases across the world and who threatens them.
Definitely. Well, because time is against us, we'll thank you guys for watching, and we'll leave you with what Brother George have said, for people to think about why America has got so many bases around the world. And keep an eye for African Voices, because next week we'll be looking at discussing immigration and modern-day slavery, which is what's happening right now in Libya. Thank you for watching. I'm Bailo Jallow, and my colleague, Dr. Kululeko Sibanda, and our guests were Brother George and Maxine Bola. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.